What up, Dosha Tribe? This is Rita Mavunda, your hostess with the mostest. And I've been on hiatus from the YouTube videos, but I'm back again. And I wanted to do some videos with my travels and different places that I've been going to. So these ones are going to be about Bhutan. Bhutan was amazing. Okay, so Bhutan is one of these Himalayan kingdoms. It's right up on the Himalayas, on the southern side of the Himalayas. On the other side of the Himalayas, they are flanked by Tibet. Bhutan is a kingdom. It has a monarchy. It is also a closed-off kingdom. So the newest present king has been doing a lot of movement to get the country to become more open and allowing for more tourists to start coming into the country and seeing it. However, their tourism is called a low impact, high end tourism, something like along like that line, basically meaning that it is very expensive to go and tour their country. And because it is so expensive, the number of tourists who can afford to go is small. So the imprint that the tourist will make in their country is quite low. And you're not going to have, for instance, the issues that are happening in Egypt with the pyramids and there's just too many people and they're messing it up, right? Or in Peru with Machu Picchu, where they've closed off certain sections because it's just too many folks acting up and they don't know how to act right. And there's no respect for other people's stuff because you just want to have your own stuff, right? Now, am I someone also that occasionally I want what I want? Sure. But I believe now I've been to enough places where it's like, if they're telling me, girl, no, all right, fine, I'll suck it up, I won't do it. You know what I mean? So Bhutan, we went there for 10 days. It is inside of a valley. They say that the airport in Paro is one of the most dangerous airports in the world to land in because of its location within the valley and within the mountains, and it being such a short runway for the planes to be able to come and land and take off. Now, allegedly, they said that they have extended it. I didn't feel anything when we were in the plane. I was like, whatever, it was fine. But we also went on a beautiful day. We took Dirk Air. So again, if any of y'all are planning on going over there, make sure you take Dirk Air going from Nepal to Bhutan, Bhutan back. And the reason why is that they are going to offer you spectacular views of the Himalayas. Dirk Air is one of the only airlines that actually flies parallel to the Himalayas, and you will be able to see the top 5 largest peaks in the world from a plane ride. A lot of planes, actually, I think they said they're the only airline that does it. All the other airlines, they don't do it that way. So if you do get the opportunity to do it, you got to go and see this. It is wild, y'all, okay? Because look, for those of y'all who fly, once you clear the clouds and once you hit like 20,000 feet, there's nothing up there but clouds and air, right? You might see occasionally you might see a beautiful like sun that's up there. I've seen some weather patterns while I've been flying, but other than that, visually, you don't see anything, right? Until you're on this Dirk airline and you're going parallel to these Himalayas. Yo, you're at 30,000 feet and there are mountains. You are seeing mountains, and not just like the tip and the nub, okay? For those of you guys who might have gone to Japan and seen Mount Fuji, right? Like, you're pretty low, you see it, but it's like you're still kind of parallel to it. You're not above it. You know what I'm saying? This thing, you are above these mountains and they are all there. And if it's a clear day, it is increíble. I'm just telling you, it's amazing. It's like pure raw nature. Did you guys know that these mountains actually grow? Okay? Apparently Mount Everest grows every year. It's like by a very imperceptible amount, but it does grow. And it's because of the still of the plates pushing against one another. But because of the way that these two plates have come together, they don't overlap. So there's no volcanoes in this area. They just smash and they go up. So they still have earthquakes in this area because the plates are still shifting. However, bro, that's amazing, right? Like that these things grow. I was telling my little 6-year-old neighbor about it. He was like, is it alive? I mean, yeah, in essence, right? Like in essence, it is. It is a form of life if one allows for a broader definition of life, right? So anyways, we landed in there. We landed in Paro, and then the capital is called Thimphu. And it's like a very small, empty country. Like imagine their max population is like 750,000 people, and that's it in the whole country. mind blown, okay? Like, I'm a city kid. I've been living in nothing but big cities my whole life, all right? It's wild to think that that's it. Even the number of tourists that they allow into the country, they only allow 150,000 tourists per year, okay? How many tourists does 1 month in summer in London see? Millions, okay? So imagine this place only sees 150,000 tourists per year. So again, just to give you an idea of just like kind of how exclusive this place is, right? Where this ain't no everyday thing, right? I guarantee you half of y'all are not waking up. It's like, you know where I'm trying to go today? Bhutan, that's where we want to go. We lucked out because we were able to get our visas for the country before they changed the price during COVID. And thankfully, they actually honored those old prices. So when you enter into the country, before you can even enter, you have to be associated with a tourist agency that's there. You can't just roll up to Bhutan and be like, yo, I'm just gonna go over there with my American passport or whatever passports that work. It's like, no, that's not how you're gonna do it. You're gonna contact them. They're gonna organize everything for you. They're gonna get the visas for you. And then you've gotta pay a visa price for every single day you were in the country. And you gotta pay it up front. It's not like you could do it day for day when you get there. It's like, oh, I'll pay you at the end of the day. No, you gonna run us all of our cash up front right now, and then you are welcome. So we were able to come into the country. We paid $60 per day per person. They raised this to high season to $250 per day per person. Yo, we were there for 10 days, okay? So if we were to do the math, right? Just the visa cost, right? Just the visa cost, not like including your hotel, not including your food, your incidentals, nothing like that. Let's do 10 times 250. That is $2,500 per person, and there was 4 of us. We would have dropped $10,000 just to be able to go into the country. That's a lot. So anyways, most of the people we met, they were only in Bhutan for like 4 days. We lucked out in that we were able to be there for 10 days, and we really, really did see the culture. We really saw the country. I can definitely say I've eaten a lot of Bhutanese food, and I can definitely say I know which ones I like and which I don't like, because we literally had Bhutanese food every single day. There was one day where they had Indian food. I'm telling you, we attacked it. And then there was another day where we just wanted a pizza, and we stayed at this place called the Swiss Cottage, and we had fondue because it was built by this Swiss man who came to Bhutan and then married a local lady, and then they built it. So they had fondue, which was actually really fun and exciting. Not the best fondue, but still something different than Bhutanese food. So anyways, we landed there, and it's just so clean, and it's so empty, right? It's not built up. There's no like massive hotels, even though in Thimphu, they do have a Meridian hotel. Now, I will say some of their high-end hotels were, woo. So we stayed at 2 of them, the Como hotels, one in Paro and one in Pukanha. If you get a chance to stay at one of their properties, y'all, remember me. Fantastic. I actually had to look up all of their other properties. They have one in Burgundy, France. I gotta go get my hands on one. I gotta go and do that. Anyway, so it was very calm. It was very relaxed. People are very chilled out. People don't really bother you. They eat a lot of betel nut. And so betel nut, we call it sopari. I think betel nut is like the English word for it. And it turns your teeth orange, just like orange. And you are going to see people eating it everywhere. And you're going to see huge marigold colored spit blotches all over the floor from spitting it out, because it is so bitter and it's so like rough on the tongue. But it's like a stimulant, right? So you can't buy cigarettes in Bhutan. You can buy alcohol, but you are not allowed to leave the country with alcohol. And it's weird because when you come into Bhutan, they've got a huge duty free with tons of alcohol. When you're leaving Bhutan, they have a duty free, but it's like 98% filled with foreign liquor. There's none of their domestic liquor. And surprisingly, delicious. So I really did like this one thing they did at at Pukanha at the Como hotels, where they had a flight of local alcohol, so you could just taste it without making the investment of buying like a whole bottle and hating it. So their whiskey, y'all, okay, fire. The vodka was really good, and then they had a rum, which was like super, super dark, like a dark molasses rum, kind of like barbecue or what's that, brugal, right? Like that dark colored one. And then, but it was weird, but it had like a tinge of red to it. And then at the end, the note on your mouth felt more like, I don't know, like a light floral scent taste. But everybody probably had their own interpretations of what it tasted like, but fantastic stuff. Their food is very tasty. It's very fresh. So they eat a lot of what's called red rice, which is like kind of nutty. It's a little bit harder. It's not as soft as like basmati or pishori or Thai jasmine rice. But it's like a red color. It's very nutty. And then generally on their food, when you go to eat, they just give you lots of like little plates, right? So think kind of like Korean food, right? When you go and they have like lots of little dishes that you can just pick off. That's how their food is. So generally, almost all of our meals, we would always have a bowl of rice. We would have a bowl of stir-fry noodles. And then it would be a variety of vegetables, right? So right now in season was cabbages, cauliflowers, broccoli, and fiddlehead ferns. And then they eat a lot of their own local cheese. So they have their national dish is called chili cheese. And literally it is chili peppers and cheese and like a creamy sauce, right? And then depending on where you go in the world, depending where you go in Bhutan, they change how that tastes. But like that is like their big thing, and it's called chili cheese. Their food is spicy AF. Whew, Lord bless. They don't play around with that spice, y'all. If you are somebody who does not like spice, you better let them know beforehand, because you're going to have bubble guts and a fiery butthole, and you're going to be upset. You're going to be upset. But for those of us who like that, woo, it was good. We also had yak. I had a yak ragu over buckwheat noodles. Fantastic. And then my uncle had an Indian-style yak curry with rice. Fantastic. Unbeknownst to me, a lot of their national animals and their birds are only found above a certain altitude. So yaks, you only see them at a certain altitude, kind of like how llamas are in Peru. Ravens, only after a certain altitude. Their mountains to the Bhutanese are also very, very sacred. I have never seen mountains like this. My mom, they've been to Peru. I have not been to Machu Picchu. They did say that the Andes Mountains kind of resembled it in terms of just the mammothnesss of it. I've driven through the Andes, but I haven't like walked up into the Andes, if that makes sense. But they were literally like this. Just peaks. It was just boom, 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 boom. It was just in rotating order. They looked like a deck of cards, you know what I mean? And for instance, like on the Nepalese side, you can go trekking in their mountains. They don't care. Bhutan, you are not allowed to do any of that. In fact, for you to be able to go past 4,000 meters, you have to get permission. You can't just roll up and be like, oh, I'm in my car, I just want to go see it. It's like, no, these are sacred mountains. You don't just come around here just doing whatever you want to do. Bhutan is one of the few countries in the world that has never been conquered. And imagine they are flanked on both sides by China in the north and India in the south, okay? Any of you guys who watched White Tiger, this whole theme of it is now the yellow and the brown man's time. When you travel a lot, you see it. You do see it. You do see it. The way that India and China are just moving, especially in their respective regions, it's wild, y'all. It's wild. And if you've never left the States and all you know is the States, y'all got to get up and go see some stuff. You've got to go see some stuff because there's a change coming. You know what I mean? It is, and it is what it is. But it's nice because of the sacredness of it. It's very unsullied. Bhutan is a negative carbon country. There's very few emissions because everything is just so clean. There's a lot of monks, and there's a lot of prestige placed upon you when you are a monk. Our guide was saying that most families, you want to have at least one monk or a nun in your family to help to make your practices easier. And so when you go to a lot of these stupas, when you go to a lot of the monasteries, to the dzongs, there are so many monks and nunneries, and they start as young as like 5 and 6. So we saw a lot of these little babies running around, and it's like nuts because, it's like on the west side, you coddle 5-year-olds. It's like, oh no, he can't, he's fine, he can't go away from me. And then this part of the world, it's like, nope, you've got a destiny to go fulfill, get going. You know what I mean? And again, it's just really interesting how different concepts are treated in different ways, right? Like, i.e. child rearing and like child care, right? And so that part was like really interesting to see just these little kids up there living like this, but it's also very cultural. It's also very much a part of their culture, right? And it was quiet, y'all. Bhutan was quiet. You didn't hear the noise of cars or beeping of horns, or like right now I'm hearing construction sounds, I'm hearing some birds, and I can hear some kids screaming, and I can hear some cars. You didn't hear that anywhere over there. People were so quiet, so easy. I didn't hear any yelling while I was there. I didn't hear any car sounds. When you're outside of Thimphu, you hear the sound of water. You just hear all the sounds of water, and it's fantastic, right? Because we were going into spring, all of the mountains were starting to melt. So throughout the roads as you're going, you just hear water. Even when you're on their main highway, there's very few cars that pass you, right? Like you could be driving for an hour and you won't have a car pass you. And they really only have like one main highway. They've been building some new different ones, but they've got basically one main highway that goes throughout the whole country. So imagine, just to give you an idea, it took us 4 hours to go 40 kilometers, okay? 4 hours for 40 kilometers. That's nuts. That lets you know, one, how mountainous these things are, because it was just like this. I have a lot of motion sickness, so I was on that Dramamine drip, okay? Boop, pop them, because I'm not trying to get sick out here. For those of y'all who know, once that settles in, it's a wrap. You can't get away from it. It sucks. So I was definitely on a steady regimen of meds to make sure I was not dealing with any of that stuff. And then what was also really cool is kind of like the way that their family set up, right? So they live in extended families. People all live together, same like Indians do, same like the Nepalese people do. I would almost even say probably even like the Asians, they probably do it too, right? For one of y'all Asians, if you're watching, correct me, I'm not sure. And I'm saying not subcontinent Asian, I'm talking about non-subcontinent Asian. I really liked that there's a lot of equality between men and women. You saw, even when you were going to construction site, you saw men and women working together. At taxi stands, you saw men and women together. Helping with the kids, you saw men and women together, holding their kids and being around their kids. They don't have a house girl culture, right? So you don't have domestic workers working in your house, which is very unlike India, which is very unlike Africa. They don't have house girls. So all of the work is equal. Even in their government, they have many more women than a lot of their surrounding parts, right? Which again, this is one of the reasons why I like our Rwandese president, Kagame, is because he has done so much for women to make sure that, guess what? Y'all need us. Anyways, we'll talk about that later. So anyways, it was just a very magical place. It was a very quiet place. So, back to the monks. I knew there was something I was saying to you guys. So back to the monks. What was cool about that was you go to your monk school and you do all that. And then to finish your training, you've got to go into their mountains for 3 good years and live in silence and meditate. So while you're driving through the mountains, occasionally you'll see like a random home. And these are some of the places that the monks will go. And they'll be in there for like 3 some years just to meditate. And so what's interesting is one of the guys was saying to us that one of the reasons why their mountains are so holy and are so sacred is because of the centuries and centuries of monks that have been praying and meditating in these mountains. And that is one of the reasons why they say the Chinese were never able to conquer them, was because of just how magical their mountains were. That's impressive. At least for me. I thought that was just impressive because, you know, for instance, here in Kenya, you have droves of people who are schlepping up and down these mountains all the time, right? Same in Nepal side, just thousands of people who are coming to come do it. And it's nice that here in Bhutan, it's like, no, you're not doing any of that. You're not doing any of that. You're not going skiing. You're not going trekking. You're not going hiking. You're not even going to go do a la-di-da walk. That's not what you're doing. These are sacred. You are not spoiling it with all your dirty non-sacredness. Get going. And I like it. I like it. But what has been interesting is that now with opening up of the country and getting social media, a lot of the teenage kids don't like to dress in their traditional wear. They don't like wearing it anymore. And everybody there wears their regular clothes. You don't see Western clothes. And what they're noticing is a number of them who are leaving the country to go and find more money outside of the country, right? i.e. going to these Middle Eastern countries for work. And the number of these guys who come back dead every single year after going to these Middle Eastern countries to work is very sad. It's very sad. My flight here from Kenya to Dubai, the whole back of the plane was filled with Ugandans and Kenyans going for work, and we know half of them are not going to make it. When I was coming back when I was leaving Nepal to go back to Dubai, same thing, that plane was filled with Nepalese workers. Again, good luck to them, because half of them are not going to make it. One of our guides was saying that when you stay at Nepal airport in the mornings, the number of dead bodies that they drop off is just alarming. So one of the reasons why they're leaving, though, is to find more wealth and more opportunities. But what's happening is now their countrysides are becoming even more empty, and there's no one there to farm. And there's no one there to do any of the work, because also those same kids are moving to Thimphu to be in their capital. So again, it's an interesting thing to see a country that is still so steeped in the past slowly opening themselves up to certain things that are inevitable in modern society, right? I'm definitely going to go back in like 10 to 15 years, and let's see if they've been able to maintain the culture, the feeling. We'll see. We'll see, because you know what? When you have these things on social media and you see this stuff, it's like you want what you don't have, right? And so I don't know, but overall, it was beautiful. The monasteries were incredible. I have no pictures of any of the monasteries because you are not allowed to take any photos on the inside. It's there in the mental camera, or you can get like a book. So you just have like a lot of the outside buildings and stuff like that. And again, these buildings are built in the 16th century, 15th century, and it's amazing how old they are, and they've just maintained, it lets you know that this new shit that they're coming out with is just garbage. Like, I live in a beautiful building, but it's garbagely made because it's made with just cheap Chinese materials, and it's trash, but aesthetically it's beautiful. So here we are. Anyways, I'm going to do one more video about taking our Hajj up to Tiger's Nest, which was work. See y'all later, Tasha Tribe. Peace.